Well, hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to Monday's Q&A with Susanna Alba. I hope that when you are catching this, you are doing well. Listen, this is exciting for me. I have a whole bunch of questions that you guys have submitted, and I'm really excited to be able to answer your questions today. So, for those of you who are catching this on the live, please tap in and let me know where you are watching me from. And for those of you who are catching this on the replay, then please let me know that you were here by commenting #replay. And we are going to get started. I'm looking forward to connecting with y'all today. I am doing great. I just realized that I have a misspelling, but listen, we're going to work with it. It is Career Q&A with Susanna Alba. And so I'm looking forward to touching base with y'all today. If you can hear me well, hey Dallas, hey Baltimore, hey Germany, okay Pakistan. The UK is in the building, California, Houston, Texas, Cleveland, South Carolina. What up, what up, what up? Hello, everyone. Yes, Australia, Scotland, Kansas City. Listen, Kansas City, congratulations to you on your win. Lagos, Nigeria. Hey, friends. England is in the building. If you can hear me well, if you can hear me well and you can see me well, I want you to give me a 1 in the chat. If you can hear me well and see me well, I want you to give me a 1 in the chat. Hey, Colorado. So we are live in a variety of places. We are live on Facebook. We are live on Instagram. We are live on LinkedIn, and we are live on YouTube. Why are we in all of these places? Because if we get disconnected in one of these 4 locations, you know how to find me and you know how to find me well. It's the same name. I am Susanna Alba across all 4 of those platforms. I am getting lots of ones. I'm getting lots of hearts. I'm getting lots of, I can hear you well. I can see you well. So we are going to get into subject matter material. Today is Monday the 19th. And if this live gets interesting, my guest of honor will likely be joining me. And my guest of honor today is my son. So if you hear a lot of like little footsteps or you hear little hands coming into the screen, just know I'm not alone, okay? And he's gonna want to make his presence known here. So I want to try to move quickly, so like that we can get through the questions that y'all have that you submitted. We have quite a few of them. So listen, this is how this is gonna work today. I'm going to go through the questions that were previously submitted, because I want to honor those who took the time to do so. And then at the end of this live, I will go and ask and answer any questions that you may have. So if during this live you have questions, you can drop them in the question bubble here on Instagram. You can drop them on the question bubble and I will do my best to get to you, my love. And then if you are on Facebook, Instagram, if you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, or on YouTube, you can drop your question in the comments and I will try to get to you as soon as possible. New York City is in the building. That is where I am originally from. So what up, New York? All right. So let's get into this. Okay, here we go. So the first question that I got was, can you go over salary and benefit negotiation? I cannot find the Instagram where you addressed these things. Okay, so when it comes to salary, when it comes to negotiation, y'all, there's a couple things that I want you to pay attention to. You can negotiate your salary. That's usually what people would encourage you. What up, Brooklyn? You can negotiate your salary. That's usually what people would encourage you to do, and that's usually the part where people start, is negotiating their salary. The other aspects of your total compensation are pieces like your vacation days, your sick time, your family time. So like if you're working in the US and they have FMLA, that's a part of your compensation. If you have any other like stipends that you get, for those of you who are working from home, and you get a take-home stipend for like your office, like an office stipend, that is also something that you can negotiate and have conversation through. Stocks, if you're working for a publicly traded company, again, here in the US, that is also a part of your total compensation that you can negotiate. You can also ask about retirement matching. So if a company invests in your 401k, let's say, and you invest in your 401k, there's usually a match. You can negotiate those types of pieces. So there's a lot more that you can negotiate surrounding your total compensation. Salary is just a part of that. Okay. You can also negotiate sign-on bonuses. You can negotiate your title and your scope of work after you've gone through the process. But you have to be able to have these things and ask these questions at the point of offer. So I want to be able to give you some clarity because I've been getting a lot of questions surrounding after I've signed the offer, can I negotiate? My response to you is probably not. Your best bet is going to be for you to negotiate at the point of offer, not at the point of after you have signed. Okay? So that's number one. That's usually when you leverage the most power, is at the point of offer. The other thing that I'm going to encourage you to pay attention to is after you have gone through your salary, after you've gone through all of the pieces that go into an offer, if you have questions, you can totally ask those types of questions prior to signing anything. Prior to you signing anything, especially after you've gotten a job offer, you want to make sure that you understand everything that is written in that job offer very clearly before you feel or before you're pressured into something and it's in the offer but you didn't take the time to read through that. So please make sure that you're paying attention. So that's the difference between salary and total compensation. Total compensation is going to be everything that encompasses your work. Salary is just a portion of that. So you can negotiate your salary, you can negotiate sign-on bonuses, titles, scope of work, time off, sick time. Like those are all kinds of questions that you need to be ready to ask. You should also be ready to identify what are the trade-offs. I can guarantee you that while the money is good, it's not your number one option. I'm going to say that one more time. I can guarantee you that while the salary is good, it's not the only number one option. Because what's the point of you making a six-figure salary, but you can't see your family, you can't, your mental health takes a hit, you don't have any coverage, any medical or any health coverage, like then you're going to start to look at that 100K salary and kind of realize it's not really all that it's cracked up to be. Okay. So I want you to pay attention to those kinds of things. So that was the first question. I'm trying to be good, y'all, because every time we have these lives, I start off by saying, I'm going to be quick today. And then we're in like 60 minutes and y'all still rock with your girl. So I appreciate that quite a bit. Next question was, when an interviewer is using the STAR questions to ask for an example of, and you're switching career areas, do you give an example of your present role or in the new career area? So I would say if you are in the middle of an interview and they're asking you questions, the question here is, do you use examples from the present role that you're in, or do you use examples from the career that you want to go into? My recommendation is always going to be for you to use examples based off of the experience that you have, whether you are in the, whether you are using your most current role or whether you're using kind of stories throughout the trajectory of your career. My recommendation is always going to be answer and leverage the experiences that you have to answer those questions. You can't necessarily give me a response to a situational, tell me about a time when, if you are not in the role. So you can't, like, let's say you're going for an IT project management role. And I ask you a question, can you tell me about a time you worked with a difficult employee? Or can you tell me about a time that you took a project on and it failed? If you have not worked in IT, I'm not expecting you to give me a response that is in IT because you're breaking into IT. What I am trying to look at as a hiring manager is how do you leverage difficult situations and what has been your results? Because if you've leveraged them in the past, it's likely that you're going to deal with a difficult situation in your new role. And I need to make sure that as a hiring manager, I'm not bringing on additional chaos into my team. Can we keep it real this afternoon? Like, if you don't know how to handle difficult situations, if you don't know how to handle difficult conversations, and I know that there is the likelihood that that will be a part of your scope of work, then it's likely that I'm going to be like, you know what, thank you so much for your application, but at this time we're going to consider some other candidates. So does that mean that you have not had difficult situations in your experience? Probably not. You probably have dealt with a lot of difficult situations or challenges, or you took a project on and it failed. Like, be able to speak about what was your experience with that situation and then what was your result. And you always want to have a framework. You can use the STAR framework or you can use the PAR framework, but make sure that your responses are targeted and that you don't find yourself rambling throughout an interview. For those of you who are new and you don't know what STAR stands for, STAR is going to be, what was the situation? Tell me about the task. What were your action steps and what was the result? That's what STAR stands for. And then PAR stands for something very similar. What was the problem you were dealing with? What action steps did you take? And what was the result? Notice how for both frameworks, we are ending with the result. So I don't want you to spend a whole lot of time focusing on the problem and not being able to tell me about the result. Because can I be real with y'all for a second? If I can be real with you, I want you to type real in the chat. If I can be real with you, I want you to type real in the chat, because I'm going to give you insight from my hiring manager's perspective. So if I can be real with you, I want you to type real in the chat. And I'm going to repeat real quick what the frameworks are. STAR stands for situation, task, action steps, and result. Situation, task, action steps, and result. Okay. So the reason that I'm telling you, can I be real with y'all, is because as a hiring manager, what I am looking for on my team, I'm looking for less folks who are going to tell me, who are just going to be yes people. I'm looking for people who know how to operate using their critical mind. And so they will be solution oriented instead of problem focused. I'm going to say that one more time. I want you to be solution oriented instead of problem focused. The reason why I find so many people have a hard time is because you're focusing a lot on the problem and you've made the problem so big, but you've not spent the same amount of time and effort to try to identify what is the solution. And because you've spent so much time focusing on the problem and making the problem so big, what happens in our minds is that we make it so much worse than it needs to be. We play out a whole bunch of what if situations, and then we realize it's actually not that bad if I would have just started when I said I was going to start. Okay. So that's just real perspective from a hiring manager. If I am on the other side of the table and I'm asking you questions and I'm trying to assess, how did you come about with results? Like, how did you solve the issue? And you've spent the majority of your time talking about the problem, and we have not been able to get a definitive answer in terms of what was the result. How did you provide a solution? I'm likely going to remember that or make note of that as I am speaking with you. And I'm just telling you real perspective. So I want you to be prepared on how to answer these questions. Next question is, I am in my golden years. I'm not going to say how old this individual is, but they have over 20 years of experience. They believe they are excellent. They have an excellent skill set and experience within their field, but they're having difficulty securing a comparable position. I feel like employers are gauging my age bypassing for someone who's not close to retirement. I read that okay, what is the question? I'm sorry, y'all. Okay, so the question is, how much experience should I list out on my resume? And should I add a caveat that my resume is not inclusive of all my work history? Okay, so when you are preparing your resume, my recommendation is going to be 1 page per every 10 years. Okay, 1 page per every 10 years. And the reason that I say that is because I want your resume to be reflective of what is the experience that you have acquired over your career time frame that is relevant to the role that you are applying for. I want you to prepare your resume in a way that is relevant to the role that you are applying for. This specific individual is asking about ageism. And while ageism is a very real thing, I think the biggest thing that sets apart our more seasoned professionals is when they can talk about their accomplishments in a more powerful way than over job function. And they can speak about how they will transfer the knowledge that they have acquired. So while some of the I will say technical aspects of the work may be antiquated, right? You probably learned something 10 years ago and it looks really different than the way that you're operating right now. What I will say is that you probably have experienced enough mastery, or you have enough experience that you have acquired with mastery that you can teach to someone else. And so for me, again, I can only speak of Susanna. But Susanna, as a hiring manager, if I am hiring for a more seasoned role, like a higher level role, the biggest thing that I want to make sure that this candidate knows how to do is transfer knowledge, and transfer knowledge effectively. So you know how to train and develop people. You can bring a fresh perspective, leveraging the experience that you've had, but also how it applies to the current environment in which you're in. And the reason that I think that that becomes so powerful is because the workplace, y'all, is very cyclical. So right now it feels really difficult. And I'm not gonna lie, it very much is. But it is very cyclical. So in this example, I'm gonna kind of talk like fashion. So remember there was a era where like wide leg jeans and bell bottoms and those kinds of looks were out of date, right? People would be like, "Ooh, that's not on brand anymore. Like you shouldn't be wearing that type of outfit." And then we transitioned to skinny jeans, and everything was with a skinny jean. You could wear a skinny jean with a boot. You could wear a skinny jean with some heels. You could wear a skinny jean for work, and a blazer. Like all of that was then the trend, right? And then you look at some of the clothes now, and we're back to bell bottoms, and we're back to wide leg pants, and we're back to mom jeans. All the things that a couple years ago we were told that's not on trend. The same tends to happen within the workplace. The only thing that you need to pay attention to, for those of you who are seasoned, is what is the nuance. For my seasoned employees, one of the things that I find, and I don't know if you, I want to be gentle in how I phrase this. I don't know if it's on purpose, or I don't know if it's because there's a gap, but I feel as if, and I could be really wrong. So if you're one of my seasoned followers, help your girl out. I feel as if there's a lot of the notion, well, this is how I learned it. And I learned it the right way. So you should be able to learn it the same way that I did. And I run into that quite a bit. So I want to caution you if that is the mentality that you have. And I rather you think through it. Okay, this is the way that I learned it for the environment and the season that I was in when I was learning it. And knowing what I know now and looking at the workplace and looking at the industry right now, how can I adjust the way that I learned this information so that it makes sense for the industry that I am in? So I hope that that answers your question, because I don't want you to miss out on an opportunity because of an old mindset. And I want you to be teachable. Just because you are more seasoned does not mean that you are not a great candidate, or you're not hireable, or you're not capable of doing the work. What I find is that some, not all, please hear my heart, not all, but some seasoned folks have a very difficult spirit. And so instead of me being able to coach you, I have to spend a lot of time explaining why the new way is going to be helpful, not only to you, but to the generation that will come after you. And what I've heard some people tell me, and I'm telling you in all honesty, what I've heard some people tell me is, well, I'm close to retirement, so that doesn't apply to me anymore. And it's like, okay, I get that, but you still need to have a coachable spirit. And if that's not what you're willing to work with, then that's maybe I'm not the right employer for you. Okay. So that's one of the, I'm going to leave that right there. The next question is, I'm interviewing for a role internally. It's a lateral move, but the salary on the rec is 40% higher than what I'm currently making? How do I prevent them from offering my current pay with the new role? And how do I successfully negotiate the 40% increase? If you are in a position where you are applying for an internal role, there's two things that I'm going to talk about in this kind of topic, because I get this question a lot. What types of questions should I ask when I'm on an interview for an internal role? And how do I negotiate my salary in that internal role? So, the first aspect that I'm going to give you responses to is for those of you who are in the process of going for an internal role and you're trying to leverage what kind of questions to ask. To my note takers who are in the chat, I'm going to ask you to please help me out. And I'll probably do a reel on this, but I'm going to ask you right now to please help me out as I am saying these questions. If you can help type them out into the chat, that will be super, super helpful. Okay. So if you are going for an internal role, likely you already know about the company. You already know kind of what are the issues, what are some of the gaps. So I would ask questions like the following. And I wrote them down so like that I could make sure that I could give you just the way that I would think through what are some of the questions that I would ask, because I've been in that position before and I thought through like if I could go back, what would be some of the questions that I would ask? Questions that I would ask is, how do you see the department evolving over the next 5 years? And the reason that that becomes really impactful is because I want to make sure that I understand how my work is going to align to make sure that this department is thriving and growing in a short time frame. Okay. So how do I align? How do you see the department evolving in the next 5 years? Knowing what you know about this company. This is question number 2. Knowing what you know about the company and this department, who would you say is our biggest competitor and why? Knowing what you know about our department and our company, who would you say is our biggest competitor and why? The reason that that question becomes very powerful for you is because you likely will have a very different kind of perception of who the competitors are. And those who are interviewing you for this type of internal role will also have their kinds of perceptions of who these competitors are. So this becomes powerful for you so like that you can bring synergy and kind of put everybody on the same level playing field. Because if you think there is one specific type of competitor, but they are thinking that there's a different type of competitor or a different type of service that is going to come from the market, you need to bring synergy to that and be able to identify who you think has been a competitor for the organization and what this department can do differently in order to stand out. And it just kind of shows that you're thinking forward in terms of that 5 year at the end. The next question that I would ask, and I'm only going to give you 3. The next question that I would ask is, what opportunities are currently being presented to our department? And what are the challenges that our department is currently facing? What opportunities are currently being presented to our department? And what are the challenges that our company is currently facing, that our department is currently facing? The reason that, again, you want to make sure that you are on the same page with them. And so you need to have responses as well as to what you think the opportunities and challenges are. But you should also get their understanding of what they are considering is a challenge and what they are considering is an opportunity. Why? Because I want you to position yourself as a solution to the issue. And so the issue may not be the issue that you think it is. So when you're asking those types of questions, it gives you clarity and understanding to what is the issue from their vantage point. And then how do you position yourself as the person who brings solution about to said issue? The last question, so this is the 4th one. The last question that I'm going to ask you, if I were going for an internal role, would be, what are the most important tasks you'd like me to accomplish in this role within the first 6 months? What are the most important tasks that you want me to accomplish within the first 6 months? Okay. And my language here is very intentional. What are the tasks that you want me to accomplish within the first 6 months? The reason that I ask it that way is because I'm already psychologically positioning myself as the one who has acquired this role. So I need them to respond in a way that's going to say, we'd like for you to. I can see you doing this. It would be really great if you as a candidate did this. This is going to be some, again, insight to see where you fall. Okay. So those would be some of the questions that I would ask if I were going for an internal role, and making sure that I am positioning myself as a solution to a problem internally, because external candidates will not have the same sauce. They will not understand the culture. They will not know the systems and processes that are in place. So you have to attack your questions from a different angle. I hope that was helpful. I likely will do a reel on that because many of you have asked me that question. The other question is, how do I negotiate my salary to make sure that I can get the most, like what it's been marketed for? I would print out the job description and the salary that has been shared. And that's what I would leverage based off of the conversation that we've had. Okay. So I would print out the job description and the salary that has been shared publicly. And I would leverage that based off of the conversation that we've had. Because now you are aware of what the salary bands are. And realistically, I would also encourage you to make sure that you have your own salary bands. Okay. Make sure that you have your own salary bands, especially if the position has been posted. In my previous live, my previous Q&A live, I talked about 3 numbers that you should have: your weight, your want, and your walk number. You should make sure that you have that ready for that negotiation. What is your weight? So even if they offer you the position and it's not where you want, are you willing to wait it out until you find another opportunity? Your want number is going to be the sweet spot where you want to fall. Okay. And then the walk is like, I have nothing else to think about. This is exactly where I want to fall. Let's keep going. The follow-up that I get to this question is, well, what if they don't share the salary with you? Then you are going to have to do some research. Please do some research to identify what is the market value for that role. And then please be aware that there is going to be likely a cap. Okay, especially as an internal candidate, because you're likely going to get anywhere between maybe at its minimum 3 to 5% of what has been shared, and at its maximum 10 to 15% over what you have currently. So you need to know what is the market value. And then as an internal candidate, where do I look? And like, what is realistic for this role? Here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to assume that you're going to go to the top of the salary band. So if the increase is possibly 40%, like I said in this example, and they only give you 30%, that is actually not bad. Because if you get to the 40% mark and then you want to have a conversation around your mid-year review or end of year review, and you're already at the higher end of the salary band, they're going to tell you, we know that you do great work, but you're already at the end of the salary band and we will not give you an increase. Or you want to get a bonus, or they want to give you a bonus, but you're already on the higher end of the salary band. You're already at the higher end of the salary band. So while you may want a bonus, we physically cannot give it to you because you're already at the higher end of the salary band. So just use discernment when it comes to that. I know that 40% probably is exactly what you want, and it's going to be transformative and great for you, especially if you don't have any other offers to leverage. I would encourage you to just be mindful to identify what are the ranges that you want to fall in. And if they cannot give you the full 40%, are you comfortable with 25 to 30? Or are you comfortable with 15 to 25? Okay. So I hope that answered your question. All right, next question I got was, lots of salary questions, but I'm giving you a lot of information regarding salary, so I want to make sure that that helps. This is a resume question, and it's, should I include my title at the top of my resume? I want to bring immediate attention to the fact that I can do this role, and I'm looking to land from the start. So I would say you can put the title It's not typically something that I would encourage. To be honest, it's not best practice to put like Susanna Briscoe-Alba, comma, project manager. Like that's just not something that I would do. But that doesn't mean that what it won't work for you. What I would say is that if you have any certifications or any degrees that have letters attached to them, so for example, Susanna Briscoe-Alba, comma, MBA, those letters you worked really hard to acquire. So I would put those after your name before I put like your title. You can say a desired role, the desired role that you're going for on your resume, but I wouldn't necessarily put it on the same line as your name. Um the next question that I got is, I would like to know what previous employees say during background checks and reference checks for employment. Can you can you suggest companies that offer investigative services like this? By law, what can a company report on a previous employment? Okay, so the reason that I chuckle with that one is because, yo, I'm gonna say this, and if you're with me, I want you to type it in the chat. A guilty conscience needs no accusing. I'm gonna say that one more time. A guilty conscience needs no accusing. If you are more concerned with what previous employees have said about you, I can tell you as a hiring manager, we are not calling your previous employers or previous to connect with previous employees to ask them what they think about you. That I can tell you from my experience, I don't have that kind of time. So I am not calling a previous employer to ask for employees that were working with you so that I can ask them what what their opinions are of you. Um so a guilty conscience needs no accusing. If you did something that was probably not the most professional, then that's something that you may need to address. By law, what are some of the things that we would ask during a background check? We're going to ask to confirm dates of employment. We're going to probably ask about titles, to make sure that they match what we have seen. So I would say those are likely the areas that we are going to be asking about, right? When it comes to your previous employment or connecting with previous employers. When it comes to your references, um, we are going to ask questions that like to confirm some of the things that we saw and we read either on your resume or when we met you during the interview. But we're not going to ask questions like, oh, can you spill the tea on how toxic this person is? It's like, if I already think that you're toxic as a hiring manager, why on God's green earth would I think that it would be a good move to bring you into my world? Because I'm not trying to deal with that. Like, I'm good. I'm good. And then the other thing that I want to say, especially for those of you who are considering leadership positions or are looking to move up into leadership roles, when you get to that place, your colleagues are not your friends. Your subordinates are not your friends. And I know that people have mixed emotions surrounding that, but your colleagues are not your friends. And so I can tell you from my experience, I seldom followed anyone that I was working with. Very seldom did I follow. Even on LinkedIn, there were very seldom of my colleagues that I was following because I don't need to know your business and I for sure don't need you to know mine. It is not up for discussion in the office. There's nothing here that I want to share with you that later I'm going to then appreciate you sharing in your private spaces and places. So you could keep that all to your good self. Okay. Okay. Let's go to the next question. And like y'all, I don't know. I don't know how else to be other than to be real with y'all because like even on LinkedIn, there are some people who are just genuinely want to see you win, but then there are some other people who are looking for any opportunity to sabotage you or they're looking for any opportunity to get some tea. And guess what? I am not a tea dispenser. I am not a kettle pot. I'm not here for it. So if you want tea, go to the supermarket. But if you want to know about my business, unless I am welcoming you into that space, mind the business that pays you. Okay. All right. That one got spicy, but like I want to make sure I want to make sure that you guys can hear my heart for that, because here's the other part why I am the way that I am. It's taken me a really long time to feel and to operate through some insecurities that were self-imposed, because I was so concerned what other people would think, what other people would say, how would this translate, all this other jazz. That I got to a place where I was like, if it's because this person is following me and is going to mess with the way that I show up, then I'm just going to block them. It's not that I don't like you. It's not that you and I cannot have a conversation. But if it's going to stop me from being able to show up completely like Susanna Briscoe-Alba, because Susanna Briscoe-Alba has made them bigger in her head, then it's like it's not worth me stressing out. I'm good. And what I learned 9 times out of 10 was that those people that I was all concerned about, like, what are they doing? Are they going to want to know my business? They weren't thinking about me. I was spending more time thinking about them, and they're not thinking about you, right? And so again, I want you to be able to understand that leaders, specifically those of you who are responsible for a department or a team, your colleagues are not your friends. You can be friendly, you can be respectful, but at the end of the day, if you are a leader, your sole responsibility is to develop people. When you can approach it from that perspective and take your emotion out of it as a leader, which is what I consider myself. I lead in my business and in my organization. I lead on the platforms that I show up on. My sole purpose is to develop you, not to get caught up in your drama. It really is not. And some leaders, that's where the line gets blurred, because they lend their ear to things that are not necessary nor helping you. So as a leader, when you come to see me on Instagram with 300 plus people who are following, when you come to see me on YouTube or any other place, when you come to see me at the conference, my sole purpose is to develop you. My goal is that you leave better than when you came into my space. But if you're coming into my space and you're leaving depleted, you're tired, you're anxious, you're upset, then we need to reassess what's going on here. Either there are things within you that you got to figure out, or there are things within my leadership that I need to figure out. But that is not the way that you lead effectively. So my purpose is to develop you so that you can see things from a different perspective. And I'm going to give you an example of that before I answer my last question and then kind of get to y'all's questions. How many of you can genuinely say that when you come to my page, one of two things happens? You either learn something new or you feel hopeful and encouraged. One of those two things happens. You either learn something new or you feel encouraged. When you come to my pages, when you've engaged with Susanna Alba, if that has been you, I want you to type a 2 in the chat. You've either come to my page, you've learned something new, or you've left encouraged. You've left hopeful. If that has been you, I want you to put a 2 in the chat. And so if that has been the reality for you, that's exactly why I'm intentional about the way that I show up. Because if you're coming to my page and you're leaving more anxious, or you're leaving more kind of comparing yourself in terms of she's better than me, or I haven't learned anything, or I wish I had what she had, then we're blurring the lines here. The goal is to develop you. And not only to develop you for the 60 seconds or the 90 seconds that I post something, to develop you in a way so like that you can implement what you have learned. You want to know what's the biggest reward for me? So yes, this is my job. This is what I do day in and day out. I connect with new people. I help you with your resume, like all those things. But yesterday, I had a conversation with a follower of mine who invited me to come and speak to a group of her like colleagues. And after the conversation, she called me and she was like, Susanna, I just need to tell you that I've been following you and I've been implementing some of the things that you've told me. And I knew that I was not getting paid what I needed to, but I was afraid of asking. And how many of us have been there? Full transparency, we've been afraid to ask. And so, using some of the tips that she learned here prior to us talking, not only did she ask, but she asked with data, which I encourage you to do. Make sure that you have your data. But secondly, she went in asking for a 15% increase. And because of the way that she prepared herself, her employer was like, 15, bet. How about 25? So that is the type of transformation that I am hoping that you get. That what you get here, upon coming under the umbrella of Susanna's world, upon coming under the leadership of Susanna, that you get practical ways to apply what you're seeing here into your everyday. Because many of us are mistaking our opportunity on social media and we're scrolling to get away from the life that we've been called to, because it's an easy distraction, instead of getting the tools necessary to build the life that we want. Can you see the difference there? So I am thrilled for her that she was able to organize herself in a way that she was empowered to leverage the data and get that type of increase. But that doesn't happen just by me showing up here, doing a dance, pointing at things, twerking online. Like, what? Like, would you trust me if you saw me on here twerking and then talking about make sure you go apply? You'd be like, girl, I know, I know you are wild. That is not it. And so this is why to my leaders specifically, your purpose is to develop people. Okay. And development will sometimes require you to challenge preconceived notions. Development will sometimes challenge you to challenge preconceived notions. Okay. There's too many people who have been under bad management. And so when they have encountered good leadership, because they've been under bad management, it takes them a while. But when you can lead from the place of, I'm hoping to develop you, remember that you can only take them as far as they want to go. So if you're doing everything in your power to develop them and they don't want to be developed, then that's a them problem, not a you problem. But if you are falling into the trap of getting caught up in gossip and getting caught up in the tea in the office, then that's a you problem. Then it is a them problem because you are the leader. Okay. So we went off on a tangent there, but I wanted to make sure that I shared my heart with that, because we've worked too hard to get to the places where we're at to then get caught up in drama. Ain't nobody got time. Okay, let's get to the next one. This question is, this individual is currently on leave for burnout. They have over 10 years of experience in multi-site management. They want to transition into a leadership and development role, but they're not sure how to market themselves as a leadership and development type of professional. I'm reading some of y'all's comments. It's just making me laugh. But this individual wants to know how to position themselves as a leadership and development professional. I would say if you, again, leverage your data. So even though you don't have the trainer or the leadership and development title, leverage how many people throughout your history, how many of them have you trained successfully, and then what has been their results. Leverage that type of data. What have you done? How have you trained and developed other individuals? And what has been their results? What have been the frameworks that you have created, or the curriculum that you have created, the training material that you have created, that you have implemented, and now people have seen results in that? Because when you can start to speak like that, then you will attract the right opportunities. I want you to speak to where you want to go, not just where you are or where you have been. So a lot of this work um, kind of growth starts up here. So if you want to be recognized as a leadership and development professional, then you need to start operating in that leadership and leadership and development vein well before you get the title. And chances are you already are. So leverage what you have done and what you have learned. So like that, you can share it more effectively. And then I'm going, look. I don't know where this comes from, but I guess they agree. And then after you've done that, take that with you to the places like that you can share your perspective in a digital way. So take that to your LinkedIn profile, put that on your about section about the accomplishments you've had, what you've done with your team, and how they've grown. And that's how you can position yourself to attract more leadership and development opportunities and repel the opportunities that you don't want to pursue. Okay. So I wanted to make sure I answered those questions. All right. So we are at 10 minutes to the hour. I've gotten through the majority of the questions that have been submitted ahead of time. If this was helpful to you, if this live was helpful to you today, I want you to tell me it was helpful. Tell me. You can drop some gems in the chat if this was helpful to you. I love being able to just connect with you guys in this way because a lot of these questions, many of you are struggling and suffering in silence. And if you're a part of my community and my tribe, we don't do that here. Okay. We want to make sure that you are equipped because, again, as a leader, my goal is to develop you. Okay. So before I get into your questions, there's a couple things that I want to make you aware of. June 25th and June 26th is the Scale to Six Women's Leadership Conference. That's going to be taking place in Poughkeepsie, New York. We are going to descend into the Doubletree Hotel in Poughkeepsie. And that's going to be 2 days of you and I connecting in real time, me giving you strategy in terms of leadership, in terms of career development, in terms of you being able to not only listen and be surrounded by others who are looking to grow in their career and in their abilities, but also practically, how do you apply this when you go back to work? Practically, how do I apply this with my team? We are going to have some incredible speakers that are going to speak to your ability to manage your self-care while you're succeeding, while you're growing, while you're advancing, building your confidence back up. Because if you've been laid off or you've been under bad management, your confidence takes a hit. And so we're going to have speakers that are going to bring that back into you because you have been birthed with purpose. If there is blood flowing through your veins and you are watching me today, you have been birthed with purpose. And if your confidence has taken a hit, then we need to repair that so that you can operate in your purpose. Because guess what? You've been called already to do amazing work. And some of y'all are already doing it. But when your confidence has taken a hit, I can totally understand how that's hard to do. But here's one thing that I can assure you, and I said this on my last live surrounding layoffs. There is no traffic in called lanes. There is no traffic in called lanes. So when you start operating in the places and spaces that you've been called to, there might be challenges, but there is no traffic in called lanes. And secondly, it's very difficult for you to take destiny steps surrounded by dysfunctional people. I'm going to say that one more time in case you need to write that down. It becomes very difficult for you to take destiny steps surrounded by dysfunctional people. It's the reason why I had to change the environments that I was in, because I knew that I was destined for great purpose, but the environment that I was in was not conducive to that. It challenged me. It helped me to learn some things, but I knew I could not stay there. Okay. So if you take nothing else from this life today, the 2 things that I want you to remember: there is no traffic in called lanes. So stay in your lane. And secondly, You cannot take destiny steps surrounded by dysfunctional people. So assess the environment in which you're in. So June 25th and June 26th, we will be going to develop you, to pour you in, to make sure that you are equipped. I promised y'all that I would share when registration for that is going to go live. Registration for the conference will go live on March 1st. Registration for the conference will go live on March 1st. If you have been wondering, Susanna, when can I get in? Like, how can I help do this? Registration for the conference will take place on March 1st. That's when the doors will open. You will have early registration and then you will have regular registration. Okay. If you are on my email list, hey, if you're on the Hey Sis email list, you already know this and you already know that you can indicate your interest so that we can get to you first. Okay. If you're watching me live and you're like, Susanna, I really would like to indicate my interest so that I can get access to registration when it opens, then I want you to send me a DM with the word registration. And I will send you the link for you to get on the list so like that we can get to you first. Okay. So you're going to send me a DM with the word registration and I will send you the link so that you can get on the list for when registration opens. Okay. Registration will open on March 1st. And since we're doing this live, I'm going to see if I can do this right now so like that you guys don't have to wait for me. But if you want to get on the registration list, you're going to you're going to send me a direct message on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and on Facebook. You can send me a direct message, an in message, if you're already following me. On Instagram, DM me the word registration and we will send you the link. Susanna the bot will send you the link to get on the interest list so like that we can send you the information for registration when registration opens. Those folks who are on that list will get that information first and then we'll make it open to everybody. It is limited amounts of space. So I'm trying to tell you from now on so like that you don't get mad at me when you tell me that you didn't get it. Other thing that I want to just quickly touch on, this event will not be live streamed. So you need to get in the room. Okay. The event will not be live streamed. So you need to make sure that you are there. Okay. I've gotten a lot of people in the UK on the other side of the pond, like just asking me, when can I do something on that side? I am considering that, my love, but just give me some time. Because while I want to make sure that we can develop you and develop you well. So registration will open on March 1st. We will send the registration link and the registration information to the folks who are on the registration list. You're going to leave this live. You're going to send me a DM with the word registration, and we will send you the link for that. Okay. You're going to leave this DM. This live, you're going to send me the word registration and we will send you the link for that. Okay. All right. So I hope that this was helpful. Hey, Miss Crawford, I'm glad you registered for the newsletter, baby. It's a good time. If you are on the newsletter and it's been helpful to you, thank you. Thank you for letting me know that. We try to give you as much information as possible, just kind of recapping what we talked about. So it's going to happen. The conference is taking place June 25th and June 26th. We're going to be in Poughkeepsie, New York at the DoubleTree Hotel for 2 days. And we're just going to love on you and make sure that you are prepared, that you have everything that you need in practical ways that you can apply it. Okay. Let me see. To get onto the newsletter, you're going to go to susannaalba.co, susannaalba.co, and that's how you can get on the newsletter. You put your information in. Can y'all hear me? I think y'all are still here. Uh-oh. If you can hear me, just tell me I hear you, because Instagram started doing some stuff. Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, y'all can hear me all right? Okay, I'm starting to see some activity. Whew. Whew, thank you, Jesus. Okay. I lost my train of thought. If you're trying to get on the newsletter, it's susannaalba.co, susannaalba.co. You insert your information. The newsletter goes out every Thursday. And so if you register for the newsletter today, you will get information on this Thursday. Okay. All right. Y'all can hear me. Whew, my heart started having palpitations because it told me that the live was ending. And I was just like, what is going on? Okay, great, 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 great. Y'all are still here. Okay. I have time for a couple of questions. And the first one is, I know, hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. The first one is tips on one-way interview video. Okay, so I really do believe that that's going to be the future of what interviewing will look like. So you'll be interviewing, like they'll ask you a question on the screen and you will have to answer that. And then they'll ask you another question on the screen and you will have to answer that. There will be nobody joining this interview. My recommendation is that if you have Zoom, if you have Teams, or if you need a free service for you to be able to practice, Loom, LOOM.com, you can screen record yourself answering questions. And so that would be one of my biggest recommendations. Whether you're doing a interview in video or you're doing an interview in real time, I would encourage you to record yourself so you can see what you look like. And also it allows for you to time yourself so you know how long it's taking you to respond. Because y'all, interviewing is a art. Interviewing is a art. So the more that you practice for said art, the better you become. Okay? This is why during one of the packages that I offer, for those of you who wonder, do you do resume services and that kind of stuff? Yes, we do. In our ultimate career package, which is for those who are looking to grow, I do a mock interview with you and I am recording that session purposely, not because I want to see anything outside of how are you responding to these questions that I'm asking you? How are you performing under pressure? And then I send you that feedback back. So I give you that video so that you can see it, so that you can practice it, so that you can hear my tonality in terms of the questions that are being asked, so that you are prepared. So that's a shameless plug for the career counseling sessions that I do. But if you are going to do it on your own, which I highly encourage you to do, Loom is a really great place to start. They have a free kind of service where you can do up to 5 screen shares for free. And you can use that. You can use that for free. So loom.com, I think you can use that anywhere in the US. And it's a screen sharing tool where you can screen record yourself. So I would encourage you to practice. All right, next question is, I was told I was using we too much when talking about my experience. Any tips to improve on how to improve? Um, I'm going to assume that you were describing your experiences in terms of the team that you are a part of. So it could sound something like, when I was, well, we did this and we were able to accomplish this. I would just simply change that we to I and be more specific in terms of what was your role in what you are talking about for your experience, because it's your experience. So I would say replace the we with I. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Well, I'd love to tell you about myself. I have done this, this, and this. I have been able to accomplish X, Y, and Z. I, as a part of this team, was able to do. Can you see now how that becomes more you focused instead of we focused? So that's a recommendation that I would suggest. Ooh, this is a good question. What are some solid ways to be able to tell that the recruiter that is reaching out to you is legit? So, a couple things that I would recommend, and this actually happened to one of my clients where she was reached out to for a position, and she sent it to me for me to be able to view. And immediate red flags to me was that I could not find on their website anything that gave me insight into the company, what they did, who they were, where they were located, what type of work they were doing. They had areas on their website that had like about us or meet the team or something like that, and it was a landing page, but you could not click on any of those links. Immediate red flag, because why are you going to have it there and then I can't click on that information? Then the other thing that happened with that specific company was that there was no footprint of theirs digitally outside of what they sent in terms of that link. So even if you were to search them on Google, there was nothing else about them that I could find. And so for my clients, I want to make sure that you're not like getting spammed or like wasting your time. So when I did my research and when she did her research, there was no other details that we could find. Couple other things that happened that were red flags were that they kept pestering her to have a conversation with them, but they wanted her to provide like banking information ahead of time. I'm sorry, what? Absolutely not. Major red flag. And then the last thing that happened was, and I'm talking about all in a span of like maybe a week and a half. The last thing that happened was that she was scheduled to meet with the CEO of the organization, and the CEO kept moving the interview. So they never actually met with her. So she would show up for her Zoom interview, and on that Zoom interview was when she would find out that she was actually not meeting with the CEO, she was meeting with someone else. So I know that it sounded like a really good opportunity. My recommendation to her was to move on. Move on. Move on. Don't waste your time with it anymore. It sounded really good. The job description looked good. But when it came to being able to assess and find information on the organization, I couldn't find anything on LinkedIn, and I'm a LinkedIn stan. Y'all know I'm going to recommend that for you. I couldn't find any information on this organization. And the information that I did find on LinkedIn, like, just didn't jive. Just something about it just didn't sit right. So that's the other aspect. Trust your gut. Sometimes we're looking for somebody else to start telling us what we should do, and your gut has been telling you all kinds of things. So trust your gut. It's not gas, it's probably a warning. So make sure that your body, like, listen to your body, because she kept saying like it just doesn't feel right. I can't put my finger on it, but like something about it just doesn't seem right. And so because she kept saying that was when I got involved and started looking, because I want you to pay attention. And then again, solution oriented. So once I started looking, I was just like, yeah, no, you're right. This is not kosher. This doesn't look right. The other thing that I did was I Google searched that company. Oh, here's another thing that you can do. I Google searched the company, and I went to Reddit, and I put the company name, and then in parentheses I put scam. And I do this often because I want to see if there are any articles that come up saying that this organization is a scamming organization, because we need to know that information ahead of time. And so for the other, this happened twice. The other client that I had that this happened to, there was a whole string on Reddit on this specific company and how it was a scam. So just I hope that helped you, pretty Nikki. Um, all right, last questions. Last question that I'm going to ask is this one, or not ask, I'm going to answer, is, are nose piercings inappropriate for director level positions and interviews? I would say, my love, to answer that question, know where you're going. Know where you're interviewing. Do a little bit of research in terms of what does the company portray, what do they say, how do they show up. Look at the people who work there. What do they look like? Because the biggest thing about showing up unapologetically is, like, I don't want you to have to code switch or change completely who you are, if you can do the work. Not everybody thinks like me, though. Not everybody thinks like me. So a part of your research as you are going through the interview and search process is, what is the culture here? And is that something that I can get away with? I can tell you from previous industries that I've been at, That's likely going to be a question depending on how it looks on the face and if it's distracting. Because if it's distracting, then it's likely going to be problematic. Um, but if it's something that's small and no one else in the organization seems to have an issue with it, then proceed as normal. But if it's something that if you feel uncomfortable, that's usually again a cue. If you feel uncomfortable and you start to feel like you're sticking out like a sore thumb, it might be time to address that. The other thing is you can ask. You can ask. So I would say know where you're going, assess what the environment is like, so like that you can make an educated decision. And it might be that for the first couple of months you don't wear it. I've had, let me think. I've had colleagues of mine who have had nose rings. Some of them because of their religious and cultural beliefs. Some of them because they just like the style. But it was so subtle that it wasn't like, girl, you like, what is going on? You understand what I mean? So it really just depends on where you're going and what the culture is like. Um This question is, my company is being acquired and jobs are being phased out. At this point, we have no idea who will remain. Any suggestions? If you think your organization is going to go through layoffs, you can look on websites like warntracker.com. Warntracker.com will help you to identify what organizations are planning layoffs. On that website, you can identify when they gave notice of their layoffs and when do they plan to actually execute them. I shared this on my last live surrounding layoffs. A lot of people are blindsided by layoffs. So I'm trying to equip you so like that you can at least pay attention to what is happening. The other thing to pay attention to is that will give you an idea surrounding what type of um, companies and what type of industries are conducting the highest amounts of layoffs. And as a job seeker, whether you are employed or not, that will give you tremendous insight in terms of where to go and where to stay. Like, maybe I shouldn't apply for those types of jobs right now. Okay. So let me see. I would love to connect with y'all because y'all have some really awesome questions. Ah, are y'all still here? Are y'all with me? Is everybody with me? Because I just got a phone call. Y'all still with me? Okay. The website is warntracker.com. Okay. But I have been rocking with y'all now for some time. And so we are about, see, this is why I don't say that I'm going to move quickly, because y'all start asking some really good questions. And then I'm like, dang it, I'm taking up too much time. This is why I need you to come to the conference, because at the conference, then we can have all of these conversations, just y'all and I. But I hope that this was helpful for you today. If this was helpful for you, please share it with someone else who you think will benefit from this conversation. For those of you who want to indicate your interest in terms of joining me at the conference, again, you're going to send me a DM or a message with the word registration, and I will send you the link to get on the list for registration. Registration for the conference will open up on March 1st. The conference will take place on June 25th and June 26th. And once you get there, we will be providing you with all the conference materials as well as your meals and snacks. Because who doesn't like to eat well? Because I know I do. So we will be making sure we take care of you with that information. Okay. So if you're interested, make sure that you let me know, and I will catch you guys on the flip. I love y'all to the moon and back. Go be impactful. Go be amazing. Remember that there's no traffic in called lanes and that you cannot take destiny steps with dysfunctional people. Okay. I love y'all. Bye, everybody. Catch you on the flippity.